Hi, my name is, and I'm a best-selling author. Cutting up a little bit here today. Thank you so much for watching today. I have something very, very special for you. We're going to walk you through what it means to be a best-selling author and how you can do it as well, at least on Amazon.com. Let's jump onto my computer screen right now and let me walk you through this. In this tutorial, you're going to get so much value because we're going to walk you through how to become a best-selling author on Amazon and build your list, your community, your authors platform, your group of raving fans as you do it. So before we get underway here, I just wanted to say a word or two about becoming a Amazon best-selling author. Because you need to understand that in the sort of the cloistered world of publishing and authorship and so forth, that becoming an Amazon bestseller is really not that big of a deal. Not a big deal at all, in fact. Primarily because a lot of people have figured out what I'm about to teach you. However, it does, that is the status of being an Amazon bestseller, it does still carry some gravitas, some weight to it, and some status to it. Again, not necessarily within the publishing and author communities, but in the world at large. So it's a good thing to be able to add to your marketing materials, your resume, your curriculum vitae, what have you. It still looks good because most people in the bigger, wider world really don't understand how easy it is to become an Amazon best-selling author. So I want to walk you through how I've done this in the past and give you some case studies here. So we're going to start off with a bit of background so that you can kind of understand the foundational premise of why it is easy to do this. And then I'm going to take you through a couple of case studies. And then finally, I'm going to walk you through the steps that you need to implement to do really two levels of Amazon bestseller. That is getting in the top 100 of all the books in a particular category, or being number one, okay? And being number one, I should say, okay? So those are the sort of the levels of what we're going to walk you through right now. So let's jump into this tutorial. I think you're really going to love it. Let's start with the idea here that there are in fact two bestseller lists, two types of bestseller lists on Amazon. There are the top 100 of all the books on Amazon. So Amazon rank orders every book on Amazon. The closer you get to number one, the better the book is selling. And the further away you get from that number, the less that book is selling. And that is a good list to shoot for. However, what we're primarily going to be focusing on is the second type of Amazon bestseller, and that is a category bestseller. Because not only can you get onto the top 100 books on all of Amazon bestseller list, but it is far easier and far more doable to get your book into the top 100 in your specific category or categories, okay? The reason why this is because Amazon updates its seller rankings every single hour. So the goal, and what I'm going to show you in today's training, is how to reach that bestseller list by getting enough people to buy your books all within a time and date certain enough to affect the hourly rankings of the book so that you could pop the book up onto the Amazon bestseller list. I want to start with a case study of how I did it with this book called Erasing Your Criminal Background Legally, The Ultimate Guide to Second Chances, which I drove to number one status on Amazon several years ago. The problem with this particular book is it was a legal type of manual, reference book really. And although I am licensed to practice law even to this day, it had nothing to do with the rest of my business, helping folks just like you, authors, publishers, course creators, speakers, trainers, coaches. I had no list to start with. And I knew that I needed a group of people to sell to, especially as we completed this book. Now, I will tell you that this book took a long time to complete because it was a back burner kind of project. It was not a part of my main business. I was no longer practicing law. So we basically worked on it ad hoc as we could, essentially. So what I did is early on, when I realized that it was going to take a while to finish the book, I wrote a couple of articles, 4, 5, 6 articles that we posted on different article sites and different blogs. And at the end of those articles, I sent people to an offer, a little squeeze page where, and by the way, for those of you that don't know what a squeeze page is, it's basically a page where you make an offer and you ask people for their name and email address. Okay, so that's what I did to start here. And in fact, this was the page that I sent folks to. And the one I want you to really notice here is I said I sent people to an offer, and there really wasn't an offer. If you really study this little page closely, there was no offer other than the offer to tell people that got onto the list when the book came out. That was really the only offer here. So that was cool. And I then proceeded over the course of probably 3 or 4 years, having this out and working, we actually got 800 people, or about 800 people, to subscribe here to this list just on those 4 or 5 articles that I put out and working for, as I said, a couple years. Here's the thing. I essentially had a big problem. And that big problem was I was not communicating with this list of 800 people. In other words, they were mostly cold prospects, okay? Keep that in mind for just a second. I had 800 names, essentially, that they probably had long since forgotten that they had subscribed to the list. But I also, in addition to those 800 people, had a list at the time of about 20,000 authors and speakers and trainers and coaches. In other words, probably people just like you. So the thing that I realized was that although I had this group of people, my community, they were probably not a group that was going to be really interested in the law type of book. In other words, although the FBI does say that 1 in 7 of you watching this very video has some sort of a criminal background, for the most part, that wasn't my community. That wasn't it did not comprise the 20,000 people that were on my email list. So I had to find a way, essentially, to entice my larger group of people to buy my Erasing Your Criminal Background Legally book all on the same day so that I can affect the sales of the book enough to pop it up onto the bestseller list. So what I did was I created an ethical bribe. What I did was essentially create a product. I produced a product that I knew everyone would be interested in, and it was a little video series called Effective Time Savers. And I knew that everyone needed to be more productive and they needed to manage their time better. So I knew most people would be interested in getting that product as a bonus, even if they were not interested in buying my Erasing Your Criminal Background Legally book. By the way, the other thing that I did was when I did that little sort of side Effective Time Savers videos, I also wrote this sales page and basically created, a nice sales page that folks could buy from as well. And then I made this offer. By the way, I should say here that I did this probably within a 3 to 4 day window. I mean, it was very, very quick, not a whole lot of planning on my part. I just wanted to see whether it would work, and you'll see that it did in a very, very big way. But I sent 3 launch emails to my list on the day of launch. I offered them the following: the video training itself, in other words, the Effective Time Savers videos, which, by the way, I sold later for $14.97. Plus, I also gave people the resale rights to that video series that included a website template, training videos, and sales page, thank you page, all of that stuff, okay? The catch was they can get all of those things for free if they bought my little $10 book on the day that I wanted them to buy it, okay? That was the catch. Another consideration that I wanted to just interject here was that I did have 3 other friends send emails for me, basically past joint venture partners that I was close to. But again, my friends list were unrelated to the book. In other words, they were not legal type of list and probably not interested in personally buying my book. So what I did for them is essentially extend that same offer for the Effective Time Savers videos plus the resale rights to those videos as well. Again, if they were to buy my book, a book they probably didn't want, okay, or need, but they did want the bonus. And that's really what I'm trying to put across to you here, that a bonus can be very, very effective. And the results were that even though we kind of threw this launch together without a whole bunch of planning, we made number 1 in 3 category bestseller lists. And even for a time, I outsold my legal hero, John Grisham, which is a big thrill for me, okay? And not only did we make number 1 on that bestseller list, but we did it on several others, Practical Guides in Law, and even the Criminal Law bestseller list as well. You may be asking, well, Daniel, all this work, how much, how many copies did it take to make this happen? Well, in fact, 53 copies. I bought one that day, so that's essentially what allowed me to call that book and myself a number 1 best-selling author, because in fact, I've got the screen captures to prove it, right? Your question probably is, now that I've kind of walked you through that little case study, is how you could recreate the same result. And there's basically 3 components of this. And the first one is in placing your books in the correct categories going in. I will just tell you here that is probably about 85% of the entire equation. Getting your book placed in the proper categories, which we're going to talk about in great detail here in just a moment. The other thing is that if you want your book to become a number 1 bestseller in a category, okay, then you probably should also have ethical bribes in some sort of bonus that either you mail, or it could be your partner's mailing as well. And either you or your partners, or preferably both of you, have some list to mail to, in other words, send an email out to, or have a large enough and an engaged enough social media following that it would work that way as well. Now, before we go on, I want to just walk you through each one of these levels, because if you do the first bullet point here, in other words, getting your book into the proper categories, and you seek to get into the top 100 books in your chosen category, in other words, making yourself a bestseller in that way, that's good enough for you, then probably just getting your categories right is going to be enough. Okay. If you want to, on the other hand, drive your book to number 1 status, once again, you're going to need to get launch partners and set up an ethical bribe or bonus for people to really get a lot of people. And the cool thing about the first bullet point here, getting your book into the correct categories, is, once again, if you're interested in just getting onto the bestseller list in the top 100 in your category, you're probably going to be able to do that with the amount of sales you're doing right now. Okay, so not a whole lot of extra legwork other than changing your categories and finding the right categories for yourself. All right, get it? Okay, So with that, let's jump into choosing the proper categories. And as I said, this is probably the most important factor in your success. And I want to give you a little bit of proof here with one of my books called Speakers Cruise Free, which had long since been on the market when I made this change. It had long since been on the market and had been bebopping along and selling relatively consistently. But what I did was I added that book to the cruises category. It had long been in the public speaking category, but now I added it to the cruises category. Doing that alone, the result, without doing any other promotion or anything else, that book went on to the bestseller list. At the time that I got this screen grab, it was number 86 in the books, travel, reference tips, and cruises. Again, cool. Now that book is a Amazon bestseller, and you are an Amazon bestselling author, henceforth and evermore. Right on, okay? Now, this book also became a bestseller in the public speaking bestseller list, but it took a lot more sales to do that, okay? Now, I have done this, again, getting the categories right is tantamount to your success if you want to get your book onto the bestseller list without doing much more promotion after changing the categories. But I've used this exact approach probably 24 times with different books that I've either worked with or published myself. So it absolutely works. Here's another example when we moved the Real Fast Writing book into the authorship category. It became a number 70 there on the bestseller list. And here we were again with the paperback of Erasing Your Criminal Background. This was months later. We were still at 40 in the criminal procedure. We added that category, as you see there. There are a number of considerations for picking categories, because that's the other thing I wanted to just cover with you in depth here, because this is a big part of your overall success. First off, I want you to understand that KDP, or Kindle Direct Publishing, will allow you to put a bunch of different categories, additional categories. By the way, depending on who you get when you contact support, you could actually get up to 10 different categories for your book if it makes sense. Your book, regardless of its subject matter, will probably fit within any number of different categories, all right? So don't just think, this is the first thing I want to just demystify here, dispel if you're thinking this, that, my book is a romance, therefore it can only go in the broad romance category. No, it's not how it works. You can, in fact, niche down into into subcategories, because each one of those categories and subcategories, once again, has its own bestseller list. And our job here is to get into the top 100 of those books, right? So what you want to do is you want to look on Amazon for as many different categories or category as makes sense for your book to reside or to be placed, right? And you want to essentially look at the sales rank. So once you find these on Amazon, they're listed rank order from 1 to 100, but you want to go to the 100th book, the last book, the 100th book, and look at the bestseller rank for that book, okay? Because if that is a high number, okay, in other words, if it does not appear to be selling that well, the number is large, okay, say 500,000 or maybe even 700 or even a million, but it's still on the number one or the number 100th spot. That's really what you're looking for. You want to choose two categories with the lowest sales rank or the biggest number, okay? The idea here is you want to set your hurdles as low as possible, all right? To make it as easy as possible to get your book into the top 100, right? That's what this is all about. Now, I will tell you, in the old days, we used to do this by hand, and you certainly still can do this by hand. But if you're going to do much of this, I really love this software product put out by my friend Dave Chesson called Publisher Rocket. And let me just show you what this thing can do, because it's really, really pretty cool. So what I really like about Publisher Rocket is it has all kinds of features. Keyword search, as you see here, competition analyzer, category search, which is what I want to show you here, and of course the AMS keyword search. But let's look at category search, and let's go to use that keyword that we were just talking about, cruise. Now, instead of looking different all around and sort of poking around with Amazon to figure this out, you could put in various keywords like this one, cruise, and it tells you what category. Not only does it tell you what category, and it tells you what the Amazon bestseller rank is, plus it tells you how many sales you need to make number one on that particular list. And this actually even shows you how to get onto the top 10, which only took or only takes one sale, right, for that. Or this one is a little bit more difficult to get onto. This is the Kindle store. You need 11 sales to get to number one, or 3 sales to get into the top 10. Cool. If you do much of this, or you just want to shortcut the process, I really, really love Publisher Rocket. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Or, as I said, you could just do it manually and go back and forth to figure out what the lowest number is, or I should say what the highest number is for that 100th book in a particular category. But this one, you could find stuff, very, very, very quickly. We could do, let's see, we could do speaking, and then it kind of gives you these different ones to do. So you can tell by looking at this that if we put the book into public speaking, speech writing, that we can be in the top 10, or we could be in the top 10 with just 4 sales with that particular keyword. You get it? Okay. If you want more, okay, if you want to take your book to number one in that category, or even if you want to try to get into the top 100 at all of Amazon, which is certainly doable for many, many books if you do it right, then you got to go to the next step, which is the ethical bribe step. So let's talk about that right now. Here, the idea is to give people as many good reasons as is possible to buy your book, all on a date and time certain. Your bonuses should be valuable. I mean, they should have real world value, and they need to be attractive enough for the audience that you're putting your emails in front of, right? And they could include your own bonus, but they could also, and probably also should include bonuses from your mailing partners as well, okay? So let's go back to the case study on erasing your criminal background legally, because as I said, I included 2 bonuses with that. The effective time savers videos and the resale rights to those videos, which had a real world value of $14.97 plus $77 for the resale rights. So they got a total of $91.97 of real world value, because I went on to sell this particular package to real people for real dollars at that level. So this was not BS, but it was enough, right? Just these 2 bonuses, it was enough to entice 53 people to act within the parameters of my offer, which is basically a 12-hour window that I wanted them to buy my book, Erasing Your Criminal Background Legally, okay? But here's the thing. I do not want you to forget, you want to ask your launch partners for free bonuses to give away. This is actually a great way to reach out and connect to people that you may not know from Adam and they don't know you from Adam, all right? But they're influencers in your niche. They're people that have an audience that may be interested in your book. And why should they do this for you even if they don't know you from Adam? Well, it's good for them. People tune into the, what's in it for them? Well, what's in it for them is that other people can become familiar with them, number one, and they could build their prospect list off of your launch. But once again, customers only get the bonuses when they buy on the launch day, right? That's the important thing, because remember, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to drive sales on Amazon so that we could spike the rankings to get it onto the bestseller list and hopefully to number one in a category, right? Here's what I wanted to show you with erasing your criminal background legally. This was a simple page. That's really what I wanted to show you. Just a super simple one page. Hey, this is the deal. This is what you get. If you do this, you get that. All right. Super simple to make happen. So what I want to do here is show you how you could put together a bonus page from yet another little case study here from a book that I participated in called Write and Grow Rich. Let me show you the bonus page that we put together for this book. And as you can see here, we had over $5,000 worth of bonuses. These were not BS bonuses. That's not like a made up number. There were a bunch of authors, and we each threw in a bonus that had real value that we otherwise sell for real money. And you can see here that this was the bonus page. This is what people got. This is when we released what they got, and all again to encourage people to buy the book all on a date certain. Now, the goal was to get onto not just the Amazon bestseller list, which as I said, is relatively easy, but also to pop the book up onto the USA Today and Wall Street Journal, and if we could, the New York Times bestseller list. Now, we did not make the New York Times bestseller list, but we did make the Wall Street Journal bestseller list and the USA Today bestseller list. And as an aside, we actually beat the books that week that did make the New York Times bestseller list, but that is a subjective list. It's a curated list, and if the editors don't find your book worthy, even if you have the sales, they don't put you on the list, which is what happened to us. Regardless, what I want to make you aware of here is that bonuses work, okay? Especially when you get a lot of partners working together. So, and that's the one thing I want you to just notice here, that each one of these, like Jason Ladd's book review, Bonsai Apprentice, you click there, it's going to take you off to a page where you have to give your name and email address to get that particular bonus. Same with all of these, actually, or most of them anyway. My point being is that it's good for people who want to build their list off of your launch. That's very, very powerful indeed. So now you're probably saying, well, Daniel, that's all well and good. Nobody knows me. How the heck do I get launch partners? Okay, so let's first determine who you want to work with, okay? You need to be selective. And the very first criteria is to figure out whether the influencer or person that has an audience that may be interested in the subject matter of your book, you need to figure out whether, in fact, they do have an email list, all right? Or a social media following that is large or large enough to bother with them, okay? So how do you figure out whether somebody has a email list that you don't know from Adam? Well, the best way to do it is to go to their blog or to their website and see if they have an email newsletter. Do they have a sign up? Do they have an opt-in form there? And if they do, chances are very good that they will have an email list, okay? Then the best thing to do, of course, is identify folks with complimentary books and products. And I do say that it is far better if you could establish a relationship with them as early as possible in the process. It is not required, but it certainly is helpful to get people into the fold earlier on, if possible, rather than have your book ready, getting your launch ready, and then start reaching out to people. If you could be doing it as you write your book, as you kind of bring the book to market, and that's far better. And we'll talk about some ways to do that here in just a second. But you want to lead with helping them before you ask them to help you. One great way to do this is to basically do a book review on Amazon for one of their books, right? Give them, read their book, do an honest, balanced, considered review of their book, and then send them a link to that book and say, I really loved your book. I've done a 5-star review on Amazon. Thank you so much. Then they know who you are. They're already predisposed to liking you, okay? Especially, obviously, it's not going to work if you give them a 1-star, and you probably don't want to work with them anyway, all right? So you want to email folks about that campaign and simply ask if they have a bonus that they would like to offer, all right? So let's sort of line this out. Let's say that you've identified 3 or 4 people that you would like to be launch partners with you when your book goes live, right? And they have an email list, and they have an audience that's probably going to be interested in the subject matter of your book. Now you've done that, maybe that book review, and you've sent that to them saying, hey, this is great. And you'll probably get a nice thank you email back. You should anyway. And then you can start a dialogue in that way. And then you ask them, hey, I'm doing a launch. Would you like to include a bonus in that launch? Okay. Would you like to have that? And if so you want to email folks that you've identified, they've basically ticked off all your boxes, and simply ask if they want to include a bonus with your offer. Why? Because they can collect a lead when people claim their bonus, right? So that's super, super important. Now, what I want to do, I want to provide a little bonus tip so that you understand that when you get one person to say yes, you trade on that yes to other people's list, all right? So trade on someone else's list. That means once you get one partner to say yes to promoting you, you essentially use it to trade up. You say something like, hey, I've already got partner X to promote my launch, and when they promote me, they're also going to be promoting your bonus offer. So you're going to be exposed to a whole new list of people who have never heard of you before, and you have an opportunity to get their name and email address, right? In other words, you use one list to parlay into your next, into the next, into the next, okay? Now, here's the thing. Doing this, getting launch partners or getting that first yes is not all that difficult. I mean, again, if the person that you are approaching is any kind of marketer at all, this is an appealing approach, right? Because it benefits them. But if you want a head start, then we have a safe list. We call it a launch list within my community called realfastvip.com. And it's very, very inexpensive to belong, and I coach every week there. So if that is something that you want that little head start, I'm going to leave the link to Real Fast VIP in the description to this very video, and you can check that out. And then once again, once you have that, then you could use that to parlay to approach other people and say, hey, look, I've got this other launch list. If you contribute your bonus, then not only are your people going to know about it and my people are going to know about it, but I've got, this other list of people that are also going to know about you, right? And your offer and your bonus. Okay. So that's how that works. Now, I do want to kind of take a step back here and give you an additional bonus tip. If you are still writing your book, you may want to include a resources section within that book so that people that you want to promote later on can be included in the resources of your book, okay? Because people, get this is really important, people love to support books in which they are being supported. Makes sense, right? Right? So if a partner is big enough, right, important enough, influential enough, has a big enough community, you may even offer them an entire page in your book, right, to sell their stuff, whether it's a coaching program, a $2,000 course, or whatever. They could sell their stuff through your book, but importantly, through your affiliate link. I mean, we're not crazy, right? So this creates a win-win-win for everyone involved. And once again, it ingratiates you to the influencer that will most likely later on, when you go to ask them to support your launch, they'll say, heck yes, absolutely. I'll help you. Why? Because you've already helped them, right? Does that make sense? Okay, great. So what you're going to do here is you're going to explain that other partners are also promoting their partners that will, of course, be promoted as an important part of their launch. So the first question you're probably going to ask is whether you want to include a bonus, not whether they're willing to support you, whether they're willing to mail for you. That's not what I'm saying to lead with. I'm saying to lead with, hey, you want to add a bonus. That's the give there. And then once they say yes to that, then you ask them to promote as well. Once you get the first yes, it's like everything else in life. The first yes often leads to the next yes and to the next yes, etc. Right? So, and that first, hey, do you want to include a bonus, is an easy yes. A much easier yes than to ask them to promote you. All right? So consider that. But once you get that first yes, go on to the next one. So you want to sell them on helping you by getting them to know that launch partners will have more predominant placement on the bonus page and therefore will be more likely to get more leads. What I'm saying is that they say yes. They said, yes, I will give you a bonus, say, whatever, an ebook or some sort of an e-course, something like that. And then you follow up with the second request, which is, hey, can you also promote me? This is the pitch. You're going to get some that say no, and then you're going to get some that say, yes, I will promote you as well. Give you the bonus and promote you. You get it? Now, for those of you, and this is the rub, for those people that say yes to both of those things, they get higher placement. They get their bonus featured higher up the page, or maybe even on an earlier page, maybe on the first page, the very first page that your book buyers see, right? Those people that are claiming their bonus after buying your book, in other words, right? So basically, these partners get leads by establishing their own opt-in pages. And these leads, again, come from your book bonus page, which, by the way, I should tell you, is hidden until after they buy your book, right? So you have premium real estate. Virtual real estate is like any other real estate. Location, location, location. Some's better, right? Some places are better on your page. The higher up the page, the closer to being above the fold or right below the fold, the better, because people just stop scrolling. They lose interest and they're gone. If you put and sell essentially that space, that's sort of the trade, that those people that are actually emailing for you and telling their social media people about you, again, on a time and date certain, they get further up the page, okay? Right? With your main launch partners, the big guns, the guys that are and gals that are swinging big bats, they're at near the top of the page, right? They're going to get more action. They're going to get more leads that way, and they should, because they have stepped out and are helping you. That's what this is all about, right? This deal works whether they're doing an email blast or if they have a large enough and engaged enough social media platform. This will also work for them as well. Now, I want to just say a few words here on bonus fulfillment. Like, I know some of you are saying, well, Daniel, this is all great, but how do we get the bonuses to our buyers? This is how. It's really just a simple opt-in form where people put in their name, their email address, and then you leave you include a form field for their Amazon receipt number. That's it, okay? And truth be told, I don't ever check the Amazon receipt number. If they get this far in the process, they put the name and email, and put just a bunch of gobbledygook in there in the Amazon receipt, they're still going to get the bonuses. All right. When you are trying to get massive list build, and massive subscribers here, you just can't worry about that too much. And besides, it's still going to be good for everyone, because in order to go on to the next step, they have to put in their name and email address to download each one of those bonuses. You get it? So either way, you win, they win. This person becomes a member on your list by subscribing here. And when they hit the bonus page and they start subscribing to other people's lists, those people, your partners, your launch partners, win, because they're getting free leads essentially that way. Now, I know another question you may have is like, well, Daniel, what email service do I use for this service? And I'm going to put into the description for this tutorial some of my favorites email services. Some are free, and some of them are very, very inexpensive. Okay, so I'll just put those in the description so you can check those out if you have questions on that. But this is a really easy way to deliver your bonuses automatically, because when people put in their name and email address in their Amazon receipt, you set up an autoresponder which sends them back an email that says, here's the download link, here's the thank you page for buying my book, and here are all your bonuses. And basically you end up sending them to a page that looks a lot like this one, right? Just here's where they all are, right? So that's how that works, okay? Now, one last thing. What I've just outlaid here for you in this sort of mini course I've done for you doesn't just work for Amazon bestsellers, right? As I said earlier, when you put a little bit more time, actually a lot more time and effort into it, like we did with the Write and Grow Rich book, you can, in fact, get your book onto, in my opinion, bestseller lists that really matter, that like the USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestseller list as well. But that'll be a topic for a completely different video. And by the way, if you want me to cover that in a future video, make sure you let me know that in the comments below, and I will see what I can do to make that happen. Now I hope that you are convinced that you could become at least an Amazon bestseller, so that you could add that to your marketing materials and the rest of what you do to make your stock in the market rise, because you are in fact a best-selling author. And hopefully now you have the steps to make that happen for your book. Listen, if you liked today's video, I'd really appreciate if you go ahead and throw a Hulk smash on the like button. And of course, if you are new and you have not yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that right now. And of course, hit the little bell notification as well. Also, I would really appreciate if you got value and you have friends or colleagues that are writing books, go ahead and share this video with them right now. And listen, above all else, now more than ever, be the blessing.